Hello guys and welcome back to part 6 of Building a Legacy. Today we are going to do our season review for the first season with Cambridge United. It was an interesting season, so let's get on with it and see how we fared up. Stay tuned! Welcome back guys to part 6 of Building a Legacy. Today we're doing the season review and we're going to take a look at what improvements we're going to need to make for the step up to League 1. But before we get started, if you could just hit the thumbs up button to like the video, that helps promote the video to get other people watching so we can get lots of viewers. And if you haven't already, just bash that subscribe button for me. So let's get started with the season review. So, Cambridge United end of season review shows us as League 2 champions. Let's check out what the new arrivals done for us. So we'll have a quick run through the new arrivals. We will base them on appearances, I think. So first new arrival was Andre Burley. He was a loan from Wycombe. We got a B- from the board for him. He played 40 games this season for us. He wasn't an arrival that I made. He was already here when I signed for the club, but he became an integral part of the club at the centre-back position, getting a 7.06 average rating throughout his time. The next player we'll look at is J. Neil Bennett. For me, this was the player of the season. The player that has made the biggest impact on my time at the club. He scored our first goal when I first signed for the club, and since then he has been an amazing player. So playing on the left wing for us, he was the inside forward on attack, and yes, he's 18 goals from that position with 4 assists, a 7.11 average rating. A player that I will be attempting to get a second loan deal done with Tottenham next season. B- for that deal from the board. Next player who came in at the end of last season, again before I signed with the club, joined us from Brentford. He was Tom Field and he played in our left back position, 37 appearances. He got 7 assists from that position, which is a fantastic amount of assists for a left back. 6.83 average rating for him. The board gave us a B for that, so the board were very pleased with the deal to sign Tom Field. It was mainly due to the transfer fee and the wages. Ryan East was my first signing in the January transfer window. He came in as a loan deal from Reading. He didn't make a great deal of starts, 6, but he did come on 7 times from off the bench. A 7.08 average rating, so he had a really good average rating. Probably could have played him a bit more, but there were players that I wanted to keep in the team. Maybe in one of them, he's a player that I see having a bit of a long-term future at the club. So I didn't really want to sacrifice one of my own players for a loan player. But he did have a really good start to his career at Cambridge United. The board's reaction for bringing him in was an A+, happy with the low wage contribution than we would normally be expecting for a player of his ability, and he was a really good player. Next player up was Ash Kigbu. He's a centre-back. He come in from Wolfsburg AC2. He made 4 starts for us, 1 off the bench, and he got a 6.7 rating. Again, another player that I didn't bring in. He was already here under old existing management. Don't really think he done a very good job for us. B- rating from the board though, so they weren't too unhappy with that. The next player that I did bring in was a loan deal for Juan Estrada from Wolves. He only made 2 starts, 8 off the bench. He was only 18 when I signed him up. 1 goal and 1 assist from that position. He was playing the Sengado Volatar position. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but I can't pronounce what that says, so we'll just call it the Vol position from now on. 6.8 average rating for him from there. We got a B+ rating from the board for that. He impressed me that much with the game time he actually had. I've actually signed him on a free deal at the end of the season, so he will be a Cambridge United player for the foreseeable. And finally, Paco Craig came in from Wycombe last season. It was a deal made before my time. I had no place for him in the team. He didn't get a start, didn't get anything off the bench, so no average rating for him. 28-year-old centre-back. He just wasn't going to fit into my team. Should have maybe used him when I needed to, just to make the most of using up the wages, but I didn't need him and I weren't going to risk him just for the sake of it. Just the one player out to tell you about is a player that I got rid of in January, Greg Taylor. It was a deal that was very not taken well by the fans, but he had no future at the club and was not being played at the club, as you can see. So a C rating from the board, 21 grand in the bank by getting rid of him. It really balanced our books and in fact took us into a positive financial state, where when I took over we were in a negative financial state. So I thought it was a good move to make. So we'll take a quick look at the results now. First results we will look at is the League 2. There's not much point looking at the cups because the cups were not anything that we had anything to do with. We were knocked out of them before I even started. But we'll have a quick look at the League 2 to begin with. So board expectation was a mid-table. We finished first. And remember, we climbed from 23rd to finish first when I joined. That is an unbelievable run. And when we look at the results, you'll see why. We had an average home attendance of 4,597, just over half full the average attendance there, so that's not bad at all. Competition top scorer was J. Neil Bennett. We spoke about him a moment ago, and the board have given me an A+. The board are delighted that the team won Sky Bet League 2 this season. Considering we looked like relegation strugglers early this season, this success is even more impressive. So you can see we finished 5 points clear of second place Walsall. We had 25 wins, 13 draws and 8 defeats in the whole of the season. When I took over we were already on 6 defeats, so that really shows the achievement we have had there. The biggest shock for me this season was Tranmere. At one point they had a 12-point lead at the top of the league over second place, and they've ended up finishing 5th. Partly down to Tranmere's poor run is how we finished top of the league. At the bottom, I'll quickly show you. Barrow and Harrogate are the teams that fall out of the Football League this season. So if we have a quick look at the results they were getting until I was here, so it was just everything was poor. Carlisle loss, Morecambe loss, Tranmere loss, couple of draws, another loss, couple of draws, a loss, a draw, a loss. This is where the existing manager was sacked, so it just never even picked up a win at the start of the season. And then the caretaker manager was in for the game against Barrow, where we won 3-1. And then I was signed up, and let's just scroll down to where I signed up against Southend United. We had quite a start. 3 wins on the bounce to start with, and then 2 draws, followed by another 3 wins. So 8 games on the bounce before our first defeat against rival Stevenage, which was a game you joined us for. Wasn't the worst game we've ever played, but it was the worst game at that time. 3-1 defeat. It wasn't nice. We bounced back after that defeat, went on quite the run without defeat again, as you can see here. Got a draw, then we've got 5 wins on the bounce, another draw, 4 wins on the bounce, another draw, and then we carry on scrolling down. Got 3 wins on the bounce before losing to Forest Green Rovers, who at the time were a point clear of us. They did finish in the promotion spots anyway, so losing to Forest Green's not a massive disappointment when you consider how far up the table they are. We then drew with Carlisle 3-3. Again, they were fighting for a playoff spot at the time. Just 1 point out of that playoff spot, so not a massive side to draw against either. We then went on a couple more wins, drew against Exeter, drew against Newport. So Beating Tranmere 3-0 here was when we first went top of the table and looked like we could actually do something. And I was rubbing my hands together. I was like, yes, here we go. But we've got a chance of a title. And then Exeter and Newport County come along. 2 draws really derailed our progress there. But it wasn't to stop us. We went on a winning run, 4 wins in a row. The game against Harrogate was where we tied up the league victory after results went our way as well. And that was it. We won the league. A fantastic season. Absolutely brilliant. If we have a quick look at the cups, which were all finished before I even started. We went out to Tranmere Rovers in the FA Cup. We went out to Cheltenham Town in the Carabao Cup. And we went out to Burton Albion in the Papa John's Trophy. Well, we actually went out of the league part of that, losing to Burton Albion and Peterborough United. Moments to remember. Biggest win of the season was 4-0 over Southend. That was a fantastic game. Dallas getting a hat-trick. It was where Dallas really come out and said, I am the striker for you now. We then got the match to remember. It was the 3-0 win against Tranmere. We already just spoke about this. Reason this was such a memorable match. This is where we took the lead in the league title race for the first time. What a win that was. And then goal of the season fell to Hannant. It was a superb shot from 22 metres out. We'll take a quick look at that. Ball cleared away. Digby's going to collect that. Digby back to Field. Field with a big ball across to Hannant. Hannant brings it down and then takes it first time into the far corner. What a goal that was. And you can see why that was goal of the season for us. So the finances, how we've left the club. So we've got a 2-star regional reputation now. Sponsorship deals over the last year. We had one new deal come in, 30,000 a year that was for. We've got sponsorship, 103,000 a year. Broadcast revenue, 208,000. We've got corporate and hospitality, 168,000. Now, competition prize money is something that we could have done with Rising a little bit, and that was to do with being out of competitions before I was even there. Only 35,000 from that. And match day commercial and retail revenue, 341,000. We've sold a total of 1,059 shirts this season. Dunk, who actually didn't play very much at all, I think he had like 3 games, was the top shirt sales player. Then we've got Nibs, Houlihan, Mullin and Burt, all selling shirts that have really made us a bit of money. How we lined up looked like this. So, the first 11, we played a formation of a 4-3-3, 2 DMs wide. We had a tactical style of wide ball, and it seemed to work really well. We had Callum Burton in goal for us. We had Tom Field at left back. He had a good season. First season here for him. He done quite well in my opinion. Andre Burley in on loan at centre back alongside Darling. Them two really made up a really good partnership. At the start, it wasn't Darling there. We were playing... Who was we playing there? We had Cundy, that's it. We had Cundy on loan playing alongside Burley. And I just felt Darling made up a better partnership with Burley. And then we had Noel out on the right-hand side. Now, Noel has been a fantastic right-back. We did bring through a youngster who has started pushing for that right-back position. So Noel might have his work cut out next year. We had a midfield 3 of East, Digby and Mizuni. Them 3 played really well together in the end. I'm not sure that East will get in there too much next season because it's about whether we can get him back on loan. He did play well in the games that he did play though. And then up front we have Mullin, Bennett and Dallas as our main striker. Dallas coming back into the team after I dropped him after my first game in charge. I dropped him down to the under-23s, just felt he wasn't quite ready to be playing in the first team. And back in January, end of January, I pulled him in so we could release Richards back to Manchester City. And yes, he proved me wrong. He started scoring goals, 11 goals in 17 starts. Not bad at all. Accolades for this season. So I won the Sky Bet Manager of the Month for January and February. Those were our 2 solid months where we really made a go at getting to the top of the league. As far as club awards go, Fans Player of the Season, J. Neil Bennett, I can't argue with that. He also picked up the Young Player of the Season award, and he also picked up the Top Goal Scorer of the Season award. Goal of the Season was Luke Hannon, which we've already spoke about. Most assists come from Tom Field at left back, again another player we've spoke about a little bit earlier on. And most player of the matches was Paul Mullin. He also got the goal that secured us the league title, 2 goals in that game against Harrogate, so I'm happy with him picking up an award. Highest average rated player was J. Neil Bennett with a 7.1 average rating. If we have a look at the competition awards, we've got nothing. Record breakers, so this is purely because this is the first season of the save. It means there's no records already to be broken, so everyone's broken records this season. 18 goals for J. Neil Bennett. Also, most goals in a season for league is 18, J. Neil Bennett. I'm sure that isn't quite true, but we'll have to go with it. Callum Burton, 15 clean sheets. Then we've got the man of the match we've already spoken about. Worst discipline was Noel, so the naughty boy of the season, 12 yellow cards, but we never picked up a red card this season. Oldest player to play for us was Wes Hoolahan at 38 years, 206 days. That is an old player, too old for my teams anyway. And we get over to history in the making. Your hard work and effort paid off on the pitch, and such a feat didn't go unrewarded at the end of our season. We've got obviously league champions, and then the comment from David Natella from goal is, once Cambridge got rolling midway through the season, it looked hard to stop them going on to success. And that is the roundup. We've got a little bit about our new season team report here from Harry Hodges, our personal assistant. This is the team that they think would be the best side to go with. I am not agreeing with that at all. I think we need to look at our own. They've changed players' positions and how they're going to play. Deep line forward. I'm not playing over a deep line forward. Let's ignore that. Right, let's do the end of season squad review. This is the end of season squad review setup I've got. So we've got position, age, the name, current ability, potential, and their personality. We've then got in the next section any information that's going on about the player, whether they're injured, wanted, or anything, their morale, their playing time happiness. We then look at their appearances and average rating. We then have the goalkeepers' ratings, which is for the conceded and conceded per 90 minutes. We then have the defensive side of the team, which is tackle ratio, which is amount of tackles per game. We then got the interceptions per 90 minutes. We've got headers 1%, so how many headers they're winning. And then we've got mistakes leading to goals. And then in the midfield, we've got pass completion per 90 minutes, pass percentage. We've got chances created per 90 minutes and distance covered per 90 minutes. And finally, in the attacking areas, we'll look at the assists, goals, expected goals, and their goals per 90 minutes. So the way we'll do it, we'll break it down into goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, and attackers. So let's filter it down for goalkeepers to begin with. So the first thing we notice with the goalkeepers is they're both 24. Mitov has the current ability in his favour. However, Callum Burton is just behind him. If we move across, playing time is delighted and very happy. If we go over to appearances, leading for the appearance is Callum Burton. He was brought in after about 10 games of playing with Mitov. Mitov seemed to be conceding too many goals for me, so we brought him in to play a few more. And in that time, he acquired a 6.86 average rating, where Mitov was performing at a 6.6. So, one up for Burton there. Conceded was 23 for Burton in 31 and 28 in 21 for Mittoff. So again, another win for Burton, and that equals to 0.73 per 90 minutes conceded for Burton, whereas it's a 1.33 for Mittoff. All around, Burton seems like the better goalkeeper there, to be honest with you. If we have a quick look at Mittoff's attributes for the goalkeeping role that we're playing him in, he's not a bad all-rounder for a League 2/League 1 goalkeeper, which we're going to be next season. So I do think he'll be staying. I think we've got our goalkeeping set up for next season. Burton will be the number one, whereas Mittoff will be his backup. Let's take a look at the defenders in the central area. So the defenders, get them lined up. Going to ignore these Estrada, Digby and Iridalfiles. They're defensive midfielders, it's just that they can play in defence. So the defenders we're looking at are going to be the highlighted defenders. So up first we've got Paco Craig. He didn't make any appearances for us, so he's out of the running straight away. We then had the main four that did play a certain amount of games: Cundy, Kigbu, Burley and Darling. Now, let's have a look at the average ratings, who performed the best out of the central defenders. Darling, a 7.10 in 39 starts and 1 sub appearance, with Burley 7.06 in 40 starts. So Burley and Darling were actually the centre partnership that I ended up going with. It did start out as Burley and Cundy, who got a 7 rating in 20 appearances. Down the bottom you can see Kigbu never really got into the team. He only had a 6.7 out of the 5 games he played in total anyway. As far as the teams conceded when they were playing, so 0.93 goals conceded when Darling was playing, 0.95 conceded when Burley was playing. And then when you look, Cundy 1.05. When we did bring in Kigbu, 1.42 that I shot up to. So we needed to make sure that we kept our main two in by the looks of it. Best for the tackle completion ratio is Burley with a 83%. That is matched by Kigbu and Cundy. Darling, who has been our best defender this season, actually only got an 81%. But 2% isn't really that much in the grand scheme of things. Defensively, for their interceptions per 90 minutes, again, Burley won that one. Darling just falling in behind with a 5.71. Heading percentage. Now, this is quite interesting. Burley and Darling, 75% each on their heading percentage, whereas the two backups, Cundy and Kigbu, both make it into the 80%. So, if we are to go with Burley and Darling, we need to be aware that headers could be a problem for us, which means crosses, corners could end up causing us problems. Just have a quick look at each of them. So Darling, 6'2", strength 12. He's got a jumping reach of 11 and heading of 13. You wouldn't expect him to be down there for heading. And a quick look at Burley as well. 6'2", 13 for heading. He's got a 13 jumping reach. So neither of them are that bad at heading or jumping. It just must be about where they're positioning themselves. Cundy, 6'2", 11 strength. He's got a 15 jumping reach though and a 14 on heading, so you can see why he's a little bit better. And Kigbu, he's 5'11". He's actually smaller than the rest of them, and he's got the best heading out of the 4 centre backs. Quite interesting that. We then have a look at the pass completion per 90 minutes. So passes completed, 22.26 for Darling, so very pass orientated back with an 85% success rate. And then you've got the other one was Andre Burley, 18.72 with an 81% success rate. Very important, these numbers, because we do play a passing game, so they need to be able to pass at the back. When you look at Kigbu, a 71% pass completion, you can see why that filters back to a 1.42 conceded every time he's played. As far as chances created, I'm not really worried about that for the defenders. Distance is covered. Again, it's not a massive thing to look at. It just shows their work rate more than anything. Andre Burley covering 8.9 and Darling covering an 8.7 kilometres per game. You do see quite a drop off in work rate for Cundy and Kigbu, who are covering 7.9 and 6.9s between them. And just a quick look at goals. We didn't get any goals from Darling, but we did get a goal from Burley. So if we take a look at the left-sided defenders at the club, the defenders that we will be looking at here will be Iredale and Field. Dunk also can play there, and Ryan O'Sullivan can, but he's not currently in the squad. So we'll look at the ages of the two players. We've got Tom Field's 24, Iredale is 25, so the age goes for Tom Field there. The ability is on Field's favour as well, 3.5 star to 3 star, and he's got a potential of a 4.5 star, so Field could become very reliable in that position. If we have a look at appearances, the appearances for Tom Field was 37, and then we've got Iredale 13 and 3 off the bench. Average ratings 6.83 for Field and 6.81 for Iredale, so very close all the way through there. As far as team conceding when each player's played, it's actually been better in Iredale's favour. He's got a 0.81 conceded, whereas Field has got a 1.06. That could be to do with how far forward that Field's getting. He is a lot more attacking than Iredale, but he assists a lot more to the game, which we'll see in a moment. The defensive side of things, this is the bit we need to be looking at though. So the tackle completion per game, 80% for Field compared to 76% for Iredale. So Field wins that. Interceptions per 90 minutes. We've got this time Iredale takes it with a 4.69 interception per 3 point against 3.50 from Tom Field. Again, I think that's more to do with Iredale being further back than what Field is, so he's there to intercept. Headers 1 percentage goes into Iredale's favour as well, 88% against 76%. Just a quick look at the heights of the players there. So we've got a 5'11" in Iredale, and he's got a jumping reach of 11, heading a 10. And Field is 5'10", so slightly shorter, jumping reach of 11, heading of 10. So you'd expect it to be a little bit closer than that, but they're not too far away from each other. And neither of them have made a mistake that's led to a goal. In build-up play, if we look at passes completed per 90 minutes, both are on that 23 mark. Iredale does lead the way slightly, but when you go to pass completion, it's actually Tom Field that leads the way. So very even in that. We've got chances created per 90 minutes. Field creating a lot more chances than what Iredale is. 0.41 per 90 minutes, whereas Iredale's just 0.15. And then we look at the distance covered. 11.6 for Iredale, 10.4 for Field. So this could be key to why Iredale is actually making more interceptions than Tom Field. He's actually covering a lot more distance and working harder to get back to his position. When we get to going forward, we've got assists 1 for Iredale, 7 for Tom Field. It's a very landslide into Field's favour that. However, Iredale did play quite a lot less games, so it'd be more interesting to see what assists per 90 minutes is for them two. Goals, just 1 goal for Tom Field, none for Iredale, with an XG of 0.2 for Iredale, so he's in that realms of where he should be, as is Field. He had a 1.16 and he got a goal, so not too bad there from the left backs. Quick look at the right backs and see what that changes for us. So the right backs that we've used in that position is Noel and Davis. Burley, we've already gone over, was a centre back, and Liam O'Neill was playing as a midfielder. So the two that we're looking at, Noel and Davis. So age-wise, Noel 24, Davis is just 21. So the ages go in favour of Davis. The ability is a 3.5 star for Noel, a 2.5 star for Davis. Again, ability goes in Noel's favour, but that's due to Davis still being a very young, bright spark. Potential, both with a 4.5 star potential, although Davis's is 4.5 star potential. And if we look at the appearances, 36 starts and 3 from the bench for Noel, whereas we've got 16 starts and 11 from the bench for Davis. 6.94 for Noel, 6.74 for Davis, so he's only really feeling himself out at the moment. However, for the games that they've played, goals conceded per 90 minutes, 0.75 for Davis, 1.05 for Noel, so we're less likely to concede with Davis in the team. Tackle completion ratio also falls in Davis's favour with a 75% to a 72%. We then look at the interceptions per 90 minutes. 4.49 is for Noel and it's a 3.9 for Davis. So Noel being a little bit more position orientated, he knows where to position himself to win them interceptions. Headers 75% to 68%. Not really expecting the right backs to be heading the ball that much, so that's not a problem. One thing to note though, Leon Davis, mistakes leading to goals, 1, none for Noel. It's unusual for anyone in our team to make a mistake leading to a goal, but at 21 and only joining in the team halfway through the season, I'm going to let that slide, I think. Passes completed per 90 minutes, 24.1 for Noel and 19.1 for Davis. So Davis not that brilliant at finding the pass at the moment. Hopefully, as his age grows, his vision starts to grow, and then we can see a little bit more from him. Pass percentage is 81% for Noel and 78% for Davis, so very even in that. And then we have chances created, 0.17 and 0.23. If we have a look at this though, the distance per 90 minutes, this is interesting. So this really represents the work rate of the players, 10.2 for Noel, 12.7 for Davis. So Davis really doing a lot of running to try and show that he really wants to be in this team. Now, the other way you could look at that is Noel knows where to put himself, so he doesn't have to run about so much. Assists, 6 for Noel, just 1 for Davis, but in the games that both have played, that's pretty even. And then you look at goals, 4 for Noel, 0 for Davis. Interestingly, Noel was expected to get 6 goals this season, and he's only got 4, so he's let a couple of chances go begging. So moving on to our defensive midfield area. So the players we played in defensive midfield were East. We had May, O'Neill, Digby and Estrada. All of them played in the defensive midfield area. So if we just do that, we can have a look at them a little bit better. So the youngsters in the team is Juan Estrada, who was brought in on loan, and also Ryan East, both brought in on loan, both with 4.5 star potentials. East has actually got 5-star potential there, so that's really good. The players we're not a little bit not sure on is Liam O'Neill, just a 2.5 star ability with a 3-star potential, and already at 27. Probably look to move him on in the summer. He's currently injured as well, so that's not brilliant. If we have a look at appearances, May made 23 appearances with a 6.83 average rating. Ryan East only made 6 appearances with 7 off the bench, but he only joined in January and he got a 7.09 average rating for that, so he's the highest average rated defensive midfielder we had. We then had Digby played 40 games, 6.84 average rating. So he played the most amount of games out of all of our defensive midfielders. He was a constant in the team. He was very important to our title-winning campaign. Then you've got Liam O'Neill and Estrada, both not really making that many appearances. Estrada brought in on loan and will be joining us at the end of the season with that 4.5 star potential. And like I say, Liam O'Neill, I think it's time we moved him on at 27. I just don't see him really making the cut for us. So as far as the team conceding goals when these players have been playing, the Estrada we can't really say much about because he hasn't played enough to worry about it. But then you look at East, just 0.67, so he has shored up the defence when he's played in front of them. You also can take a look at Digby at 0.84. So we're still conceding less than a goal a game when Digby's been playing, and he's played the majority of games this season. May's probably the worst out of everyone when he plays. We concede a goal a game for every game he plays. So maybe it's to do with him going forward a little bit. Not overly sure on that. Defensive wise, so percentage of tackles completed, 86% from Ryan East. So he really does get a foot on the ball when he needs to. 73% from Adam May. Then you look at Digby, 72% and 72% from Neil and 71 from Estrada. As far as positioning goes, so intercepting that ball, you'd be looking at Ryan East again. So East really a good central defensive midfielder. He's intercepting, he's tackling. His headers ain't really up there, to be honest with you, but he's doing everything else right. Best player for cut passes, again, is Ryan East. He's averaged 53.76 passes. That's 10 more than anyone else from that position on the pitch per 90 minutes. And 89% of them find their target, which is also the top. The next best would be Adam May with 43 and finding 83% of his passes. When you look at chances created though, so chances per 90 minutes created, it's actually O'Neill who's doing that, the player that we're looking at getting rid of. However, he did play in advanced playmaker role a few times, so that's probably where they've come from. Hardest working midfielder in that position, Ryan East. So East really has been a dominant performer in that position. And I think we need to be looking at getting East back in on loan next season. He will make all the difference, I think. And then we look at the players that are performing in front of goal for us. So best assisted player is Digby. He's also got the most amount of goals. But when you look at expected goals per game, best player for converting expected goals per game, Estrada. He hit 0.03 expected goals and he's got a goal from that. So if we take a look at the central midfielders that we've used this season, which would be the advanced playmaker role, we had Wes Houlihan and Mazzuni. Those were the two advanced playmakers we've used this season. So ignore everyone else, we're just looking at the purples. Mazzuni is a 4-star ability, whereas Houlihan's 3-star. Mazzuni also wins it for potential. He's got 5-star potential. Houlihan with 3-star. Quick look at the ages. Mazzuni is 20. Houlihan, old enough to be his dad at 38. So Houlihan will be leaving at the end of the season. And looking at that rating, possibly be looking at keeping El Mazzuni in the team. It'll be a case of whether we can get a loan deal sorted with him again. If we have a look at appearances, they're pretty even on appearances, 32 to 25. Average rating, 6.81 to 6.75, so they're pretty even as well. We then look at the team conceded per 90 minutes. 0.88 with El Mazzuni in the side, a 1.11 with Wes Houlihan. So Houlihan not doing quite as much going backwards as what El Mazzuni does. So tackles completed per 90 minutes. So tackle completion ratio, 72% from El Mazzuni and 67 from Wes Houlihan. So El Mazzuni wins that as well. However, Houlihan wins the interceptions per 90 minutes with a 2.54, so nearly one more interception per 90 minutes. We're not going to really worry about headers in this position either. Passes completed per 90 minutes. El Mazzuni certainly making more passes, 36 to 34. We've got a pass completion of 82% from El Mazzuni as well, proving why his passes connect more. Now, chances created per 90 minutes is very interesting. Only 0.28 from El Mazzuni, who is meant to be our advanced playmaker. Whereas Wes Houlihan is getting at 1.92. So he's just smashing El Mazzuni out of the park. Nearly 10 times more chances per 90 minutes than El Mazzuni. Distance covered, El Mazzoni certainly the better runner than Wes Hoolahan, which you'd expect. Wes Hoolahan at 38 just hasn't got the legs on him anymore, and that's really shown. He's 3 kilometres less per game than what El Mazzoni does. Assists this season, 7 for El Mazzoni, 5 for Wes Hoolahan. Goals is Wes Hoolahan with 2, El Mazzoni with 1. Very interesting that both were expected to score over 3 goals this season. Wes Hoolahan may have even been expected to get to 4. So it's a little disappointing that they're not scoring more goals. Something we'll have to look at in the summer. But we're definitely going to need an attacking playmaker in the summer, with Wes Hoolahan definitely leaving and possibly El Mazzoni as well. So we then get to our wingers. These are the players highlighted in purple that have played in the winger's role. So we've got Bennett 19, Nibs 22, Mullin 26 and Hannant 27. Best ability out of all of them is Bennett by a long shot, 4.5 star, on loan from Tottenham, a player I would love to get back in the team next season. He also carries the best potential, as you would expect, but Nibs is not far behind him, and he is one of our own. Mullin was the next best ability with 3.5 star, and he did have a good season for us. So let's have a look at how it panned out. So the two main wingers for us this season was Bennett with 37 starts and Mullin with 42 starts. The best average rated player again was Bennett, as we know. He has won player of the season for us. A 7 rating from Mullin. Worst performer was Nibs, but Nibs is only just coming into the team really, so I'm not really worried about average ratings this season for the youngsters. As far as conceding goals goes, it's not really something we have to worry about with the attacking players. The only player conceding more than 1 goal a game was Nibs. Again, defensive roles are not important for this type of player, so we're going to ignore them as well. The build-up play and striking is where we need to be looking at. And if we look at build-up play, the best performer as far as pass completed per 90 minutes is Paul Mullin, 27.57 passes per 90 minutes with an 81% pass completion. However, Bennett, 82% pass completion. So that does make all the difference. Now, chances per 90 minutes created, it actually falls to Nibs. Harvey Nibs with 0.56 per 90 minutes. Quite a way ahead of Bennett and Mullin. And then you look at the players that have covered the most distance, so the hardest working out of the 4, and that was Luke Hannant, making up for his lack of ability, and at 27, putting in a 12.8 kilometre distance covered per 90 minutes. Assists created this season, so the biggest creator of goals was Mullin with 6. He was only just ahead of Bennett in that though. And goals, biggest goal provider was Bennett with 18 goals, and it was 17 goals for Mullin. When we look at the expected goals from these players, it was only 12.7 for Mullin and he got 17, but even more amazing was 9.8 expected goals for Bennett and he's got 18 goals. So really proving he can find the back of the net. Goals per 90 minutes falls to Bennett as well with a 0.53. So on to the strikers that we've used this season. Let's put them up the top. We've got Andy Dallas and Joe Ironside. Dallas at 21 brought back into the side. I explained that a little bit earlier on when we first joined. We dropped him down to the under 23s and he just kept performing really well. So we brought him back up and he's done really well for us. Ironside was in the team for the entirety of the season, mainly played a role off the bench. He's currently unhappy that that is the playing time that he's getting. He is only a 3-star rated and 3-star potential, and at 27, he'll be moving on this summer. Andy Davis, on the other hand, 2.5-star ability at a minute with a 4.5-star potential, and at just 21, is a player that I think, if we're not going to build a team around, then definitely he will be there as the second striker. Average ratings for the two strikers, 6.95 for Andy Davis, which isn't bad at all for such a youngster. 6.61 for Ironside. I'd expect to have seen a better average rating from a player that is coming to the peak of his career. Quick look at the build-up play. So we've got passes completed. Ironside certainly completed more passes than Davis with 16. But pass completion, Davis seems to be finding his passes better with 84% of them reaching their target. And if we look at the distance covered per 90 minutes, Andy Davis, as you'd expect being the younger of the two, certainly covering a better distance by 2 kilometres a game. So really showing he wants to be in there and scoring goals. Goals this season, 11 for Davis and 3 for Ironside. Expected goals was just 8.31 for Davis, but he got 11, so he's actually got 3 more than he should have done. It was 2.38 for Ironside, and he's got 3 goals, so little round of applause for him there too. Goals per 90 minutes, 0.62 goals per 90 minutes for Dallas and a 0.37 for Ironside. So 1 in 3 games for Ironside. You're looking at 2 goals in every 3 games for Dallas. So running through all that, now we've had a look at everyone. We can have a quick look at who we're going to get rid of. So the first thing we need to do is look at ages. So Houlihan, Dunk, Paco Craig are all on their way out, so let's get them written down. Those are the players that we want to get rid of for their ages. And also Liam O'Neill, I think, is a player that we can get rid of. So if we carry on over to other players that haven't really started this season, see if there's any of them that we want to be saying bye-bye to. Estrada we're keeping, he's coming in. O'Neill, Kigboo never really made any real starts, but he has got that 3.5 star potential, so I'm not going to say get rid of him at this point. Ironside, 4 starts. It would mean bringing in another striker if we got rid of him. Quick look in the development centre. We got any promising strikers coming through? Let's go to the under 23s. Potential. We've got a good striker there, Joe Neal. Maybe we can look at getting rid of him then. Yeah, I think that's made my decision. We've got players in the works that we could bring through if we need to. So Ironside out. Now, Ryan East might be on the way out, but we're going to try and keep him. Harrison Dunk. We've already gone over him, so he's leaving anyway. And then we start moving on to players that have played a few games. Let's look at potential quickly now. Players with a lack of potential who we can look at moving on. Houlihan's going, Craig's going, O'Neill's going, Ironside's going, Dunk's going. We are looking at keeping the rest of these though. Okay, next thing we want to look at is personality. Anyone with a bad personality that we don't want in the side. Everyone's fairly good personalities, either balanced, determined or professional. Only one we don't know about is Ryan O'Sullivan, who will be joining us at the end of the season. Okay, what else can we sort it by to see what players we might want to get out? Any disaster performers this season? Mitrov 6.6, but I'm not going to worry about goalkeeper. Dunk's going, Ironside's going. Nibs we are giving a bit of grace to. Kigby, not sure if we need Kigby or not, but 22, he's got 3.5 star potential. Liam O'Neill, which we're getting rid of anyway. I think that is probably the players we're going to get rid of. So if we just mark these players down, so we've got Houlihan that we want to get rid of. And now we can have a quick look at what positions we're going to need players for next season. So if Craig's going, Cundy and Birdie, we've got to assume they're gone and going to be recalled from their loan, which leaves us with just 2 central defenders. So we need 2 central defenders next season. With O'Neill going, Estrada's coming in, so we ain't got to worry about that. So we've got 1, 2. Iredale is a defender. He's probably going 3. So we have got a defensive midfielder we need. Harrison Dunk's not going to make a difference because he was on the list to get rid of anyway. Wes Houlihan and El Mizuni are both advanced playmakers in our system, and both will be going at the end of the season, so we need both 2 advanced playmakers, and we need a striker. Quite a bit of buying in the summer to do then. That is what we need to do. So we want to try and keep Easton El Mizuni, which is going to solve one of the problems in the defensive midfield role and the attacking playmaker role. But if we don't, we need 2 central defenders, a defensive midfielder who can play as a regista, preferably. We've got 2 advanced playmakers needed and a striker. The outs are going to be Houlihan, Dunk, Paco Craig, O'Neill and Ironside. Be interesting to see if we can get all that business done. We have got a few wanted players, and Dunk is wanted. But all the others that are wanted are not players that we want to get rid of. So we're going to wrap up the episode there. I'll just take you onto my profile so we can have a look at how I've progressed this season. My reputation has jumped up to 35% now. We've got a massive green in tactical consistency, which is good. Currently studying for a Continental A licence, which will hopefully open up a few more jobs for us. Now, I did promise the board I wouldn't look for any other jobs. That promise will be finished in another 12 days, so I can start looking for other jobs. Currently, I haven't agreed to be Cambridge manager next season. However, they have come in with 2 offers for me. So now I think when the third comes in, it might be take it or leave it sort of offer. But we'll have to wait and see. My attributes are pretty much the same as what they were at the start. So nothing changed yet. I think that'll happen come the end of the season once it's all complete. I will be looking for a job abroad, to be honest with you, as soon as I'm able to without breaking that promise. What other promises have I got in there? So keep director of football, that's 12 days. No job applications in 12 days. And acceptable dressing room atmosphere, which I think is already at. I'll quickly show you the dynamics of the club. So yeah, everything is looking positive in there. If everything's green, you can't complain. Got 2 players who are currently at the club unhappy. So Ironside wants more time. Ironside wants more games, and Dunk feels like it's time for a new challenge. Both are players that we're looking at getting rid of in the summer anyway, so no problem. Thanks very much for watching, guys. For now, I will wrap it all up there. Next time, I will bring you a transfer roundup if I'm still at Cambridge, and probably the first game of the season. If I'm not at Cambridge, I'll be back a bit sooner to tell you what job I got. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.